The cost of guns, over bread. How poor African nations waste precious resources on arms import. In much of Africa, the greatest threat to human security is not an invading army, but poverty, hunger, disease, and crumbling infrastructure. This reality is visible in the daily lives of millions, from overcrowded hospitals with no medicine, to schools without books, to rural communities without safe drinking water. Yet, foreign exploiters and their local enablers continue to profit from this suffering, manipulating weak governance for their own gain. What are these expensive weapons really imported for? Not mainly to defend the nation's borders, but to crush any spark of public demand for accountability and good governance. They are tools of intimidation, deployed not against foreign enemies, but against the very citizens calling for justice. And for the exporting rich countries, this repression is convenient. It protects their political influence, secures their economic interests, and ensures that the client regime remains obedient. Instead of investing in education, healthcare, clean water, and job creation, many African governments are pouring scarce resources into importing expensive weapons from wealthier nations. This obsession with military build-up is a trap carefully designed and sustained by the very countries selling the arms. Rich nations whose industries thrive on the global weapons trade are always ready to supply advanced drones, tanks, and artillery to poorer states. The buyers, often authoritarian or politically insecure regimes, justify these purchases under the banner of national security or sovereignty. In truth, these weapons often serve more to suppress dissent and entrench power than to defend borders, all while ordinary citizens face chronic shortages of the most basic needs. Every major crisis of insecurity in Africa carries the fingerprints of foreign arms exporters. From civil wars to state crackdowns, these conflicts are fueled and prolonged by a steady flow of weapons from wealthy nations. The suppliers know exactly where their guns, drones, and bombs will end up. In the hands of regimes or militias that use them to tighten control, crush dissent, or wage endless wars. In this way, foreign arms dealers are not bystanders to African instability. They are active participants and profiteers in its destruction. Ironically, the worst offenders in this wasteful spending are often the very governments most loyal to former colonial powers. For the suppliers, keeping such regimes well armed is a strategic investment, a way to ensure their continued influence and economic dominance in Africa. For the recipients, imported weapons become tools for silencing opposition rather than building a nation. The outcome is predictable. Poverty deepens, development stalls, and the state grows increasingly militarized. Imported arms fuel internal conflicts that displace families, destroy farmland, and devastate local economies. The arms dealers are growing richer. The people are growing hungrier. And the continent's most vulnerable citizens pay the ultimate price in lives lost, in opportunities denied, and in futures stolen. African nations cannot shoot their way to prosperity. A drone cannot build a road. A tank cannot treat malaria. A warplane will not educate a child. Every dollar spent on an imported weapon is a dollar stolen from clean water projects, rural electrification, agricultural development, or modern health care. Breaking this destructive cycle requires courage and vision, the courage to reject the lie that military hardware equals true security, and the vision to invest in human capital rather than in instruments of death. Real sovereignty is not defined by the size of an arms coach, but by the well-being, education, and economic empowerment of a nation's citizens. Until African leaders make that shift, the continent will remain trapped in a painful paradox, buying guns from Theric while its people starve. Join Diaspoint in challenging the leadership failures that hold Africa back. We believe in a vision of sustainable development, democratic governance, and genuine transformation. Share our message, amplify our voice, and together we can redirect Africa's resources toward building, not destroying. Diaspoint, empowered by Africans in the diaspora.